We got tall versus small. Who is going to sit the best?
Who will win the challenge? So, we kind of met, it seems like in typical Zamir fashion, would you say?
I guess so.
Yeah. I was playing a show with this guy, Dylan Meek, keyboard wizard, and I was just hanging outside.
We were at separate tables. Like it was at Zebulon, so big outdoor. I had my drink. I was in the mood for a vodka cran. Don't ask me why.
It's a classic.
It hit. And I think you commented on that. You're like, what are you drinking? Or maybe Alessandra did. Here we are almost a year later.
And I love the space that you have here. It's very creatively inspiring. Everything's plugged in, ready to go. It seems like the flow is just in good flow state.
Thank you. Yeah. It's really come together especially over the past year. Lots of new stuff in here, and it feels like it's really dialed in now. And that painting too, we didn't talk about that in the thing, but actually Luke downstairs, he made that painting.
Talk to us, your first studio space, or your first piece of musical equipment. Like, what was that process like, starting from there to now here? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so I guess first started in high school. My piano teacher, shout out Michael Stegner, he's out here too, he's a really cool guy. He told me to get Ableton back in high school, so that's when I started a little bit.
That's kind of the perfect time to start too.
Yeah, kind of like sophomore, junior year. Did a summer camp too and made a song. First song I ever did was about food.
Oh, food! Buy it, cook it, eat it, save that for later. Stick it in the fridge with that tight container.
But anyway, back to that. He told me to get a Roland Octacapture, so 8 input. It's an interface. Roland made it. Really cool. I think they still make them. So I had that.
So you had 8 inputs right out of the gate.
8 inputs right out of the gate. I don't think I ever used more than like 1 or 2. I had a pair of Rockets, KRK 5s, classic. Brought that to college. I had a Ableton Push as well. So I was using the Ableton Push, Ableton, and the Rockets in my dorm room. So I was like bumping music in the dorm room, had friends over. That's where it started. My friend Nate, we were just cooking up stuff using, setting the push to like the chord mode and messing around with the scales. Made some beats there. A lot of freestyling, and then during COVID I moved back home to Seattle, set up some stuff in the basement, got a desk, this piano I had, so I was like kind of doing stuff a lot in Logic there. Ableton.
What was that transition like, going from Ableton to Logic?
I forget exactly why. I think I was doing an internship and they were doing a lot of Logic stuff, so I was doing that. I do like a lot of the mixed interface on Logic. I feel like it's a lot more cleanly set up. It's closer to Pro Tools with the buses, and the aux sends are like a little more intuitive. Ableton doesn't really have a good way to do that. Logic was pretty intuitive though. It's pretty good. Just the scrolling going back and forth, the scrolling is inverted, so like I'm trying to go left and right, or like zoom in and zoom out, and it's like a little, the mouse wheels are different.
I haven't used Ableton yet, so I'm just starting to learn Ableton.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult learning curve for me. It just feels so different. Do you think that if you started with Logic, now that you've used both, it would be harder to go from Logic to Ableton, or it would kind of be the same process when you went to Ableton to Logic?
That's a good question. I think Ableton to Logic might be easier. That's what most people I found. People who use Logic, I think, have a more hard time with Ableton. I'm not sure. Maybe because I did some GarageBand stuff way back in the day, that Logic felt a little bit more natural. It's really powerful. It has a ton of tools, and I definitely am not an Ableton master. Like, there's still so much stuff in Ableton, and all the racks and all the macros and all the way that you can interact and map it. That's just like really useful for sound design and creativity. That is still like lots to learn in that.
Did you always play music, or how did music kind of get involved in your life?
Yeah, so I started playing piano with this guy Michael at age 4. My dad, I think I had a Power Ranger. It was like around Halloween time. I was a red Power Ranger. I had my little mask.
Yes, I love the green Power Ranger. He's my favorite.
Yeah, fire. Smooth moves, that guy.
But the red was good. The red was a classic.
The red was a classic. Green, I think, was like the sleeper pick. Like he was pretty showy. He was pretty dope. Hashtag Piano Rangers. Piano Rangers. Piano Rangers.
Hashtag Piano Rangers. We should start a band called Piano Rangers.
That's not a bad band name at all.
And we arrange tunes for piano.
Yeah.
Piano Rangers.
Piano arrangers or rangers.
Yeah.
Piano, yeah.
And we're also park rangers too.
Park rangers.
We bring pianos into the park.
And when we combine the pianos, you get a super crazy piano.
Yes.
And that's pretty sick. My dad got me, he got a Roland. So it was at a piano store. Michael, obviously loves Roland. Roland is great, honestly. The products have never let me down. Shout out Roland. I was his first piano student ever that I taught, and it was out of his like basement and house in Seattle, Finney Ridge. And in high school, I got into singing. I was forced to do a beginning vocal class.
Had you sung before then, or that was kind of...
No, that was freshman year. In Rock Band, like the video game, I realized that I could sing a little bit because I did Hard Day's Night, and I got like 97%. I was like, damn, that's like pretty good. Damn, I kind of slayed that. This guy, Casey, pulled me aside one day and said, you have a really great voice. Like, you should really consider singing more. I'm like, Casey, you told that to everybody. Like, there's no way. He's like, no, actually. So I had a crush on this girl in high school who was in the jazz choir. I remember seeing her scat at a like performance for the whole school, and I was just like, wow. Ended up having a class with her, and I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna audition for the Onions. The Onions were like the top. We had no football team, so we were like the culty, like the
Wait, the football team was called the Onions, or
we were the jazz choir was the Onions. There was no football team, so the Onions were kind of like the
school mascot.
The school like the top tier culty type, like the Onions had like the status.
So how do you get into the Onions?
It's hard to. You had to audition. So
okay, so you had to you had to be in the jazz choir to be in the Onions.
The Onions were the top. Jazz choir 1 was the Onions.
There's multiple jazz choirs.
Choir 2, jazz choir 1 was like the top tier. That was the Onions touring around and all that stuff. To get into the Onions, I told her I was going to audition, and she's like, yeah, you should. I was like, oh shit, now I got to do it. So I told my piano teacher, Michael, I'm like, we got to put together an awesome audition. I did an a cappella version of Take the A Train, doing a bass line at the same time. So it was like, you dum 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 ba dum must take the A train, dum 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 go to sugar way up and all dum 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 dum, kind of like that going. And I rehearsed it, practiced it, did it. The guy Mark Hoover tested the key. He's like, oh, you stayed in the same key. I think he was impressed. Ended up getting in, and jazz choir, that started the spark of like musical passion for me. Just being in a group of, I think there were 21 of us my junior year, and we sang really, really crazy arrangements, a lot by the New York Voices. Those just really beautiful arrangements, really complicated. Like, we signed a contract to like say we're going to rehearse, like practice at like 45 minutes a day. Like, we had this program to like sing into it, and it would grade us and like tell how good our pitches were and all that. Like, it was very intense, but everyone took it very seriously. So the music was at a very high level. We talked a lot about what the songs meant to us, and we got really vulnerable with each other. So I think that's what made the music really powerful too. Like, the first song we did, Smack Dab in the Middle, we talked about what it meant. It's all about indulgence. And one guy, Nate, shared a story about a wedding where there was a chocolate fountain, and he was a little kid, and he like basically just stuck his face in the chocolate fountain.
Oh my God.
So that is just the most indulgent thing you can really do. So then you kind of have that story and that connection to someone. So then when like I make eye contact with Nate when you're singing, then you kind of like have that little image, and you have a moment, and it kind of allows the music to get to that emotional state of the indulgence, and that translates. So I think that was...
And that's so important too, because I feel like when you're learning music in high school, middle school, and college, it can be very academic,
mm-hmm.
and it can lose that whole feeling of what I think is the most important part of the music is how does it make you feel emotions, and so that's amazing that you got to experience that, but in those formative years.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, music is emotion, and communicating that's why we had different tiers of the priorities. So the number 1 priority was the music, number 2 was each other, and then the audience came last. So we're not trying to be showy to the looking at the audience and trying to show off and dance. Like, you're really focused on the music, focused with each other, and through that connection, through that emotion, then the audience gets to share in that. And that's kind of like, so that really lit the spark for me musically, and I was like, wow, music kind of opened up a whole new door, and decided to study it in college and did a cappella there. I hate to be a snob, but as a jazz choir, as the Onions, a lot of a cappella, like the arrangements are mostly soloist focused, right? Like, the soloist gets the spotlight, they're singing the fun stuff, and the rest of people are kind of going like bum, 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 right? So I wasn't super attracted to that, but then I heard the Vassar Devils. I had a friend in a music class tell me to come to one of her shows, but then I heard this arrangement of Blood I Bled. I heard them sing and I was just getting chills, and I was like, this is incredible. I did not know a cappella could be like this. And then I decided to audition as well, and got into that, and I did that for three and a half years.
Do you want to keep pursuing the a cappella, or are you kind of had enough of it? What's the next part of your journey?
Yeah, so acapella was interesting. We actually were on tour during spring break senior year 2020, and that's when all COVID happened. All of our tour was cut short. I'd done an arrangement, my first solo in the group. I arranged it, was ready to go. Only got to sing it like a couple times, unfortunately. All of our gigs were canceled. Went back to campus. We had a few gigs still. Went back to campus, and then from there, COVID happened. I eventually went back to Seattle, set up the little studio down there. Actually, we'll take it back a little bit. I studied abroad in New Zealand for a semester. Oh, wow. And that's where I actually got some hands-on studio time. Got to work with artists in another class, record, produce, mix, master, the whole shebang. Got to learn how to use the console. They had an amazing room, like old studio. Taught us how to mic a drum kit, how to basically do everything. And that's kind of where I got some hands-on experience learning how to use a studio. And then I kind of started learning more about production. Keyscape was one of my big purchases too. I'd done a lot of research, and it seemed like as a piano player, that was like the best way to, and I love the Rhodes. I love Rhodes, I still do. And that was like the kind of the best Rhodes emulations that are out there is through Keyscape.
Can I tell you my little Rhodes story?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I had a Rhodes back in college. I had my buddy drive it down in the back of his pickup truck from Boston to Miami.
Oh, wow.
And then once it was in Miami, I would rehearse with it at least twice a week. It was the suitcase, so it had the big speaker and then the top of it. And I had one of those like UPS hand trucks, the 4-wheel ones.
No way.
So I would get someone to help me. We put the speaker down, put the thing on top. There was a giant lake in campus, and I would cart it around campus, go up the ramp, rehearse, take it off, do the whole thing at least 2 times a week. And then sometimes I would play gigs, so we loaded up into my buddy's Honda Accord.
Wow.
It's just like the road warrior.
That's serious. Road warrior.
That's the road story.
That's some serious cardio too. Lugging that thing around, that's a good workout. So yeah, Keyscape was one of the earlier ones for me, and it was cool to be back with the family as well. My little brothers they had stay-at-home school. They were doing their senior year in high school. Twice a week, they came down they had a music class, so they'd come down to the basement. They'd be like, Zamir, it's 12:30, let's make a song. So they'd come down, we'd make some silly songs and send it to their class, and it was really cool. So it's a brother bonding there, got some more practice kind of just making songs and exporting them really quick. I had a friend named Nate, who the same Nate who freshman year we were doing stuff together in the dorm room.
Right.
He would come over like once a week, kind of part of our pod on Mondays, and we'd go down and write music. And we wrote a song together, Roses, that released last year that we started in Seattle and finally finished it. Just kind of about stopping and smelling the roses, like when things were really bad. I was in a really dark place there. I had a really tough relationship breakup, like really not a good situation. So I was that combined with COVID, not really seeing too many people back home in the basement. It was like really dark time, and we kind of wanted to make a song because, I wasn't the only person going through some so we wanted to kind of say, don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Like there's still things in life that make it worth living, still beautiful things. And we got matching tattoos out here.
No way.
Seattle, there's a little rose.
Whoa.
So this is my first tattoo.
That's cool.
So we got that done together when he was out here, and the next project coming out this summer actually is a bunch of songs with him that he'd come and visit, and we'd kind of just have fun, start a beat, write a verse, and we're like, wait, we got like 7 or 8 songs here, let's just finish it. So came over and had like a marathon 2 days and finished it all up. So now it's pretty much in the mixing phase and be out this summer.
When did you decide to move out to LA?
I moved out October of 2021. So COVID 2020, COVID started, moved back in 2020 and around October actually and home. And I took a trip to stay with my friend James from college, James Werner out in Brentwood. Stayed with him for a couple weeks just to kind of scope out LA. Really loved it. It was just so refreshing. Beautiful weather. I didn't have much on the calendar. I was able to just read books for fun. I know, crazy. And I had a bunch of meetings set up. I actually met up with Michael, piano teacher, other people from Seattle who had moved to LA and other musicians just to kind of get their take on it. And everyone was kind of like, this is the place to be. And I decided to move down and really have been happy with it.
Had you kind of heard about LA or had your eyes set on LA before you visited him out here?
Honestly, not too much. I didn't really think too much about it. I knew I didn't want to stay in Seattle too long, and I knew I wanted to do music. So LA was kind of like, I hadn't really heard much about LA, to be honest, because Vassar's in the Poughkeepsie. It's an upstate New York, very East Coasty vibe. Not too many people even from California out there. And so this was kind of like the tester trip, and I drove down this keyboard. I left it with him because I knew I was going to move everything down. I'm like, let me at least bring one big thing down and keep it there. That was kind of the trip, and I had about 6 months after that to kind of get things figured out, and decided to make the jump. Didn't really have any jobs or anything set up. Just kind of knew that's where I needed to be, and spent a month in West Hollywood with my neighbor Aviv. His dad was the one who gave me the Do Epics stuff thing. We lived together. He's in Santa Monica now. I ended up in Silver Lake, and it's been the place.
When I was first starting to accumulate, musical instruments and gear,
Mm-hmm.
it was all super overwhelming. Plus, the internet was kind of in the early stages of things, so it's hard to kind of find information out there.
You're not that old.
I mean, that's true, yeah. And I did have my I had my Guitar Center rep, Sean. He was the guy. He
Shout
knew.
out Sean.
Sean. He got me the Mbox, the Digi 0002. He knew it was up. For people kind of just starting out on their journey, it can all seem pretty daunting. This doesn't all happen overnight. It's you get one piece of gear, you learn it inside and out, and then you slowly start to build, and kind of it goes from there.
Up until this past year, I was pretty much just rocking like MIDI controllers. I did get this Seaboard that's this year's from Rolly. That was like my first big like gear purchase in a while. Actually, the first like big instrument purchase that I made, I would say.
Aside from the mini drum set,
that was way after. Yeah, so this was just from like, this has only been I guess a couple months. Yeah, so in the past couple months, I've got the drum set and the organ, and the desk and the speakers. I got January. The compressor and preamp I got a couple months ago as well, along with the mic. So this has been the year where I've have a lot of significant tax write-offs to submit.
Yeah.
Lots of credit cards. As we know, Skrillex made Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites in a warehouse on Rocket 5s. Like, if you know what you're doing, you don't need the gear. However, if you do know what you're doing and you have gear, then it adds to the experience, I would say. So I would say start simple, like you said. Start with learning the software, get a MIDI controller or use your instrument, whatever you have, and then find things that you want to add, because it is a rabbit hole. I mean, I've seen your studio. You have a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I feel like you know how to use all that stuff, which is really cool.
I do, yeah. But I will say that it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want to go into an empty room with a piano and just use that to create.
Yes.
But I feel like if you have an idea or a creative element that's really strong, it doesn't matter what gear you have, you'll find a way to create it.
The whole goal is to basically get what's in your head like onto the page, so to speak.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a very specific idea in your head, and having mastery over your tools allows you to do that. So like, say you're a synth wizard and you have some crazy synth, and you know exactly, okay, this is going to be like, this is the attack, this is the decay, this is the different oscillators that I need to use. You can do that. And then alternatively, you can kind of just select random presets and do stuff, and then start ideas from there, and then that'll create other ideas.
Totally.
So I think that's the beauty of music, is like also, and especially producing and creating, is like, it's kind of it's almost just playing off what you do. If you're by yourself, you can kind of just play off your own ideas and your own gear, own different things, and kind of see what happens.
So outside, because I know that music is not your only, you were just talking about your trifecta. If you could do three things, it would be
playing music, cooking food, eating food, and tennis. So tennis, music, and food are kind of like my bread and butter.
So talk to us about the tennis. Where did that come into play?
Tennis, I started when I was like 6 with my mom. My mom got me into that. I would say dad is kind of like music. Mom is like tennis. She played a lot. Going to Vassar was really decided because I wanted to play on a tennis team. I in high school, I'd played growing up. I was like the best at my club, whatever. I was like, oh yeah, I could probably get like a full ride to Stanford or whatever. And then high school, I joined a high performance, kind of like an intense training program in Seattle. And all these younger kids, people, I was like, oh my God, I am like not even close to these guys. It was like very humbling, very just like, wow, okay, Stanford is off the books for tennis. So kind of tennis and music were and school were like my focuses in high school. I kind of dialed those in. Vassar was a good good academically, and also had a tennis team where I lived, and I visited there and I liked it. And tennis was my first like gig out here. So the people from Seattle connected me with some folks, and I eventually got a gig coaching out in West Hollywood. Honestly, through that, I've met so many amazing people musically through tennis.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Some really good friends. This girl, Sid Franklin, who's, shout out Sid, one of my close friends, amazing singer, songwriter, person, started tennis with us. And she told us later, like, she was also not in a really good place. And through tennis, meeting me, and I was Coach Z, and we had Coach B, Brian, we were kind of running all the programs out there, and we became friends. We organized a mixer and got to actually hang out with people outside of the tennis court, and music came up, and she sent me some demos, and I was just absolutely blown away. I was like, whoa, these songs are so good, and played some shows together. And so, yeah, through tennis, I've met so many great people, and I still coach a little bit here and there, some group classes, the occasional private lessons. I was doing a lot more. That was more of my like full-time income was through tennis coaching. And I kind of felt like in order to do the music thing, I had to kind of go all in on it. And especially with the way the tennis lessons were, it was very it was sporadic. It's, gig based, hard to track down. It's kind of in the middle of the day. You're scheduling an hour or two here or there. So it's hard to, when someone wants to do a session like 4 to 8, you're like, oh, I can't. I have a lesson at 4 for 1 hour with some person. It's kind of like there were situations where I found myself constantly almost like regretting tennis because I feel like I was missing music opportunities.
It's interesting.
Something happened where it was kind of like the universe, and I took it as a sign, being like, okay, this is the sign that I needed to go on the music and kind of tone down the coaching a bit. And I'm really glad that I have been doing so much more music almost instantly after that. So within a week or so of that, then I got the organ, and all these other music opportunities started coming together because I was doing more things related to music, it felt like. And then
people knew you're doing more music related stuff, and you're putting that out kind of into the universe, the elements, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So that sort of has been aligning. And funnily enough, though, with all the musicians and artists, when I say that I coach tennis, they're much more excited by that than when I say I'm a producer or singer, because it seems like everyone and their nan is a musician out here, So, but then when you say you're a tennis coach, then they're like, oh wow, that's really interesting, and they're interested in that. Versus like non-tennis people, like the more financy, doctory, non-artistic people, tennis is cool, but then you say you're a musician and they love that. They're like, oh my God, what kind of music? What do you do? What does that mean? What is that? And you can explain like what is mixing to them, because they've never heard of mixing,
Right.
So it's kind of funny to be in the different spheres and meet people through that and see kind of what's interesting to them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, Zamir, thank you so much for letting us explore your space.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome. I
It's
hope
been
you had
really
fun.
fun. Yeah, it's been really great. Great hanging out with you as always, and thanks for thinking of me in your podcast. It's been really fun. I'm excited to jam out later.
Yeah, let's go.
Sweet.
Cool.
Episode 1 complete.
Done.
Stay tuned.